Hello everyone, this is the video key for your practice for identifying the slope and y-intercepts of equations from different formats, from an equation like right here, from a table over here, and also from a graph. So let's just dive right in. So we have this first equation here, y equals 3x plus 2. This is in the form slope-intercept form. So that's perfect for us to find the slope and the intercept because that's where we can read it from. We would want to put it into y equals mx plus b form to find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, we know that the slope is the variable that is attached to, or excuse me, is the number that is attached to our x variable. So our slope in this case is 3. And in terms of rise over run, this would be, you would want to see this as 3 over 1. So we would rise 3 and we would go to the right 1. Now, what's our y-intercept? Well, our y-intercept is this constant on the outside or just a number. And remember, we need to take into account the sign that is to its immediate left. In other words, this sign right here, that tells us it's a positive 2. If that number was a negative, if that was minus 2, then our slope or our y-intercept would be negative 2. So we just need to be aware to take into account the sign of the constant. So our y-intercept is positive 2. Positive 2. Let's go down to this table down here. So we have an x and a y table, and we want to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is going to be really easy to identify, so let's do that first. And we know that the y-intercept is wherever x is equal to 0. Okay, so wherever x is equal to 0, well, that's right here. Okay, so that tells me that when x is 0, my y is 2. So my y-intercept is going to be equal to positive 2. Positive 2. Okay, now we got to find our slope. Well, we know that our slope is rise over run. Now, when we say rise, we're talking about going up and down the graph. I'm just going to use this graph over here. So when we talk about rise, we're going up and down the y-axis. So not necessarily on the y-axis, but like how far up in the y values did we go, or how far down in the y values did we go? So I'm just going to put the word rise over here next to y because that's what rise is associated with, how far up or down we went in the y direction. And conversely, run, we're going to run to the right all the time. So that's with our x values. All right. So now I want to know how did we go from the first y point or y value to the second y value? How did we go from the second to the third, from the third to the fourth, so on and so forth? And it should be the same number every single time because this is a linear relationship. The slope never changes. So let's find out and see if that's true. So how did we go from -4 to -1? Well, we added 3. So from here to here, we added 3. How did we go from -1 to +2? Well, again, we added 3. 2 is just a coincidence. Let's check it for a third time because that makes a pattern. How did we go from 2 to 5? Well, clearly that is we added 3. So our rise at this point, now I can write my rise over run because I'm trying to find my slope here. So my rise over here is going to be +3 over, and now I want to do the same thing with my run. And again, it should be the same thing if this is a linear relationship. So how did we go from -2 to -1? Well, we added 1. From here to here, we added 1. How did we go from -1 to 0? Again, we added 1. Here to here, we add 1. How did we go from 0 to 1? Obviously, we added 1. So there we go. My run is always, I'm running to the right 1. So our rise over run is 3 over 1, which you saw in the first case up here. I have this scenario. So my slope is just going to be 3 because 3 divided by 1 is just 3. Okay, now let's look over here at this graph. The graph's going to be fairly simple. The easiest way to find the y-intercept, well, that's where the graph crosses the y-axis, and it crosses right here. So that's at 1, 2. So that is at positive 2. So our y-intercept is at 2. And our slope, what's that going to be? Well, I'm going to choose let's just choose this point right here. And I'm going to go from this point to that point. So how far did I go up? 1, 2, 3. And then I ran to the right 1. So I rose 1, or I rose 3. So I rose 3, and then I ran to the right 1. So my slope is equal to 3. Alrighty, so that's identifying slope. Now let's put it into a more complex question. So here we need to write the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. And they give us a hint, you will need to find the slope and the y-intercept, and then we can easily write the equation in slope-intercept form. And that's true because once we find the slope and we find the y-intercept, bam, we can just plug it into y equals mx plus b. So let's just write that down for ourselves. Intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would plot these 2 points. So negative 2, 3 is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's the first one, and then 112 is all the way up here. Okay, so first thing that we want to do is we want to find the slope. So let's find the slope. I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to go, I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to rise 9. We got rise over run, and I rose 9. And then, so I'm up here, and then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3. And then I rose 3. And then 9 divided by 3 is just 3. Man, we love our slopes of 3, don't we? Okay. So now we have our slope. So our slope is 3. So this is our slope. Slope is 3. So now how are we going to find the y-intercept? Well, there's a way that we can do this really easy on the graph. We can just use that slope because there are points that are missing in between the 2 that they gave us. So I'm just going to use my slope of 3, and I'm just going to add those points in. And I'm thinking that one of those points is going to be on the y-axis, and that'll give me my y-intercept. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. That's that point right there. Up 3 and over 1. Bam! 1, 2, 3, 1, and that gives me my other red dots. Perfect. So now I can clearly see that my y-intercept is right here at positive 9. So my y-intercept is at positive 9. So I have a slope of 3, and I have a y-intercept of 9. So I can write my equation now. My equation is going to be y equals 3x plus 9. There you go. All right, I hope this helped. As always, be safe and be healthy. I will see you next time, guys. Bye.